Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Today's review is Spy Master by Symatt and CM Games. Okay, first a bit of history. Released in 2017, Spy Master is an 84-page softback book available as a print-on-demand that has the intention of creating a game based around capturing the feel of international super spies and espionage. The system does not require dice to play, just a deck of normal playing cards and some poker chips or something to represent them. Okay, to the cover. This is the special edition black and gold cover, however, as it's essentially clip art, it doesn't really blow you away. Right, to the inside. Once we get past the list of credits, it gives you a quick story that purports to illustrate the kind of action that Spy Master goes for. One of free-flowing action and excitement in dangerous situations. Think John Wick, James Bond or Jason Bourne. After the content, we have an introduction which explains that all you need to play the game is dice, pencils, paper and a pack of cards, and a willingness to suspend your disbelief and embrace the genre. Spy Master resolves all conflict by playing Pontoon. The basic mechanic is that simple, but there are other twists in the mix. The player will have a base card and then can draw again, or twist until they either go bust or decide to stick under the number 21. Pontoon is a very popular game, so I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it. The player always goes first and the person running the game or the director draws afterwards. Busting causes failure for whoever does it first. Other than a few variations and add-on bits, that's pretty much the rules. It gives us a quick summary of play and then goes on to Chapter 2, the rules. Here it gives a breakdown of each draw and what the player would experience in game. When you read it, it does have the flow that it intends and makes sense in an abstract way. Players also have 4 poker chips per scene that they can use to redraw a card that may have bust them, although the second card needs to be kept. Following this we have a summary of the rules. I found this quite a lot to take in one sitting and had to reread it a few times. It gives all of the terms such as bust, deck and the like, and then goes into the game terms unique to Spy Master such as the action suit and extended tasks. These all have particular in-game effects that are far too numerous to list here. The best way of describing how it works is that the entire game is built around the deck, from locations to skills. All of the things that are relevant to the super spy genre are essentially covered. Time is broken down into 5 classifications. The act, which is one game session. The action, which is what a character chooses to do on their frame. The frame, which is a 6-second unit of time. The movie, which is the entire plot of the adventure. And the scene is action that takes place in one location. The frames begin with the director shouting "Action!" and finishes when they shout "Cut!". We have additional rules for the likes of concealment, armour and first aid. All of the kind of things you would expect to see. After this we have some information on performing skills and the difficulties involved, all based on a number that you have to equal or beat in Pontoon, and we have a quick explanation of the character sheet. They are based around your 4 prime attributes: physicality, social skills, intellect and dexterity, with each suit representing one of them. It then goes on to discuss how to play the genre. It stresses the need for both the director and the players understanding the kind of story they want to tell. It talks about the gadgets and weapons that are associated with this, stressing that super spies in the movies generally don't load up on rocket launchers and body armour, usually trusting their wealth of PPK, training and wits to get them through a situation, and the flow of the game actually supports this, using the example of a pencil being as lethal as a machine gun in the hands of a trained agent. It also has another interesting idea, which is that minions must always be defeated first in any combat before the agents get to the main villain. They always make sure to get in the way and hinder any attempt of beating the big bad first. We then move on to Chapter 3, Character Creation. A character is created by drawing 5 cards from a shuffled deck, discarding the lowest and then choosing which numbers you want to represent the 4 values. It gives us some sample careers for agents who have pursued in a previous life or are currently pursuing, and it also gives us the option of a raise for characters. Taking actions are resolved in a similar method to everything else and not rigidly defined, just roughly covered by the card suit, and it also covers extended tasks where there are multiple draws, though these can't be chipped. It also covers actions in combat and covering initiative, which is done by all agents at the beginning of each frame, with the colour drawn that matches the environment of the scene being the one that goes first. It also gives some examples of non-combat actions that can be done in combat, such as first aid. Following this we have a pretty decent example of combat, with each step described in both narrative and game terms, and then it moves on to equipment, covering things like area effect weapons like grenades and machine guns, and then it goes on to hazards such as toxins, fire and drowning. After this we have almost 6 pages of play described in pretty good detail, which I found fairly handy in visualising how the flow of the game works. We then have some good examples of set locations, places where a scene could potentially take place. These are associated with the 4 suits and are used to generate them on a whim. Next we have a section on driving and pursuit, which has been designed in such a way as to have a flow of an action movie, which is good in that you could reasonably be expected to do this in a super spy movie. Following this we have a section on organisations. gives us details on La Agencia, or the agency, roughly speaking the good guys, and details international safe locations, or ISLs. And there's WASP, or World Against Security Propaganda, a villainous agency that seeks world domination, that has unlimited money and grunts, and needs to be stopped. Chapter 7 is the Director's Toolbox. Here we have a chapter dedicated to helping the director out with guidelines on how to set up scenes known as set locations. The book recommends one set piece per hour of play, whether that be in a skyscraper or an underground parking lot. It talks about how to flesh it out with NPCs as well as keeping the environment functional. We have some other uses for the cards, such as aiding the imagination, and also for things like 50-50 chances, and gives some basic notes on writing an adventure, and then goes into Npc Creation, giving us a few examples. It then moves on to how to run NPCs in a scene, stressing that the main villain should always have their chance to escape. The next part's called What's It All About? Here we have some tables that can be used in order to create opening scenes using established movie vignettes. It gives 52 examples across the 4 card suits, so this can be done completely random should you decide, and this is followed by some plot hooks. It then goes on to list cities with ISLs present, which again can be drawn using the deck. After this is a list of real spy agencies, and this is followed by some useful tables that are used for generating names and the content of the pockets of agents and the like. It also covers hit locations, which can be generated using a card draw like everything else. The next section covers the art of seduction. It breaks it down into 3 types: sexual seduction or charm, political seduction or convince, and subliminal seduction or brainwashing, and it does a pretty decent job of making it work in game. It then goes on to talk about how to balance the game in order to make it challenging but not overwhelming, which given the game has an endless supply of grunts at the director's disposal is probably a good idea. We then move on to Chapter 8, Creature Profiles. Here it talks about how to design a creature and gives a list of speciality attributes that some creatures will have but others won't, such as poisonous or tough. It then goes on to give us some creature profiles of the kind that agents may be the most likely to meet, things like sharks, lions or gorillas. It also covers the very basic rules of creating a creature. Chapter 9 is an introductory adventure, the Touchdown Affair, which I won't spoil here, but it's fair to say it is quite brief, but it does a good job of introducing you to the concept of the Spymaster system. Chapter 10 covers weapons, although how a single page with silhouettes of weapons could be considered a chapter is up for debate. Chapter 11 covers solo gameplay and gives details on how to run this game with a single person and no director, though other than for learning the rules I couldn't really see a situation where you would want to do this. Chapter 12 covers improving your agent and goes into how to essentially level them up after each session. It has a talent point system which can be used to raise your suit numbers, increase the amount of chips you have at your disposal, buy contacts and even purchase stunts you can perform occasionally. The final chapter, 13, covers how to use dice instead of cards in the game, and lastly we have some thank yous and a character sheet. Sometimes, the sheer enthusiasm that a game designer puts into their work can make the product shine even when it isn't perfect, and Spymaster definitely falls into this category. The author seems like they hit upon an idea, formulated how to make it work, and then just did. The simplicity of the pontoon system in overcoming challenges is so good in practice that literally anybody could learn it with ease. It actually left me wondering whether anybody else had attempted it before. The main issues I have are with the actual book itself. The use of clip art throughout, although actually well done, does at times make it feel like it isn't a gaming book, and the use of silhouettes throughout instead of art meant that some pages were filled with black and white and looked wasted. There's also a lot of filler in the book, which made it feel like the author either ran out of ideas or was limited by page count and decided to be brief, and also there are, dare I say it, too many examples of play. Also, as a game that lives and dies on its unique 21 pontoon style system, the section on using dice felt like an aberration, as the idea of cards and poker chips really suited the atmosphere that the game is trying to recreate. I can see this book easily improved by cutting out anything superfluous, as well as the dice section, and adding a great cover and some nice evocative art throughout. This would reduce the page count and I imagine the cost. The other way would be to fully expand it and make a proper book out of it, and add some branded Spymaster playing cards which would make it really stand out. As it stands, it feels somewhere out of place and in the middle. Also, for what it is, it's a tad expensive. The other small issue I have with Spymaster is longevity. Couldn't really see this as something you would play week in, week out. However, could you imagine watching Super Spy movies all the time and not getting bored? I think in short bursts it would provide a few sessions of adrenaline pump fun where you get to play a fast-paced scene-to-scene adventure that you would really enjoy and undoubtedly remember with fondness. I genuinely think that Spymaster would make a great convention game. It's easy to pick up and the can-do nature of it is very infectious. It also has perhaps a strange distinction of being a game where I think fewer players would be more conducive to a good game. If what you're looking for is a game that's easy to learn, provides short bursts of action and fun, and is one that you don't need any special dice for, that could be used to perhaps teach someone the basics of role-playing, I think Spymaster would be right up your street. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos. Also, if you're interested in buying this product, I'll put a link below. Lastly, if you enjoy what I produce here, then maybe think about supporting me on Patreon. Bud out.